lot of it is just kind of pushing the fear in your head back and just being like, if I don't go do this, I'm just going to wonder what it would have been like, so I'm just going to do it.
Hi, I'm Megan Kaptein. Welcome to the Trailblazers show. Today I have a special guest, the one and only Golnoosh Namazi. She is an adventure rider who lives in Tenere, BC. She's also a global brand ambassador for Revit, a motorcycle gear company, and she inspires riders around the globe to get on their motorcycles and explore the outdoors. Golnoosh, welcome.
Thank you.
So glad to have you.
It's very nice to be here.
So tell me, Tenere, you probably get asked that a lot, but why Tenere of all the places?
It's kind of hard how I landed there. I kind of just like applied for jobs all over BC and ended up in Tenere kind of on a whim. I remember driving through at one point and thinking, who the heck would ever live here? And then funny enough, I ended up living there. So yeah, life's kind of funny like that.
Some of our viewers probably don't even know anything about Tenere, where it is. How would you describe it to someone who's never even heard of the city Tenere?
Yeah, very not uncommon that you haven't heard of Tenere, but I'd say it's kind of close to the ocean. Like if you know where Prince Rupert is, it's about 140 kilometers inland from there. It's just kind of south of the Alaskan Panhandle and kind of in northwest BC, I'd say.
So did you discover adventure riding when you moved up there, or were you already a motorcyclist before you made the move?
Yeah, definitely was riding motorcycles before, but I think the riding off-road, I wasn't doing as much of it down here, and so part of my move up there was just wanting to live somewhere more rural where there's more access to trails, and Tenere definitely offers that. It's quite rural, and trails are, 10 minutes down the road from anywhere you are pretty much, so it really works out for me.
It looks so beautiful up there, and I think everyone should go and take a trip up there at some point.
Yes.
But it is pretty cold. How many months of the year would you say it's wintry weather up there?
Yeah, so we get like first winter for sure, second winter, and this year I feel like we got third winter, so all throughout the winter, we had very little snow, but then we got this big dump in March. So it's kind of unpredictable. Sometimes you can start riding as early as March, but definitely April, like there's a lot of motorcycles out now. And then the season usually ends in, early November. We start to get snowfall, and it's just a little too cold to comfortably ride, and you're crying, and it's just waterworks.
What do you do the rest of the year then when you can't ride?
So lately I've gotten into quite a few winter sports just because winter is a very real season up there. This year I started on a split board. I've done resort snowboarding before, and so the split board is kind of a nice backcountry complement to that sport. And so it's definitely a lot more up my alley. I really just like being in the mountains. I'm not huge on actually skiing, so the uphills for me are actually really fun, and I just enjoy walking around the mountains.
Have you always been into this outdoor lifestyle?
Definitely not always. I think I kind of got into hiking first. That was my gateway activity because it costs basically nothing, and I used to live in North Van, so proximity to trails really helped with that. But yeah, I definitely started out hiking, and then once I got on the motorcycle, which kind of was very independent of my passion for the outdoors. But yeah, once I got on the motorcycle, it just seemed like a really good fit to get on dual sport motorcycles because you can access so much more of BC.
And you have a little adventure companion, a puppy named Yara. Can you tell us about her?
Yeah, she is a Rottweiler Australian Shepherd mix, so very high energy. I got her 3 years ago, and she pretty much is down for any of my adventures, the one exception being motorcycling, ironically. But I do hope to maybe somehow, I have some ideas about getting her on the bike, so hopefully that becomes a reality soon.
Have you already attempted?
Yes. So I got a little backpack for her. She hated it, so we're not gonna go that route. But I do still think I can get a carrier made for her for the T7. I think that's probably gonna be the best bet. I have gotten her on a snowmobile, so I feel like with the snowmobile, the two-stroke, like it was already kind of, you have that motor sound and the movement, so she's kind of used to it already, but I don't know. I think she's a smart dog. She'll figure it out.
I have seen those carriers around. There's a woman actually riding around the world who takes, I think, her German Shepherd.
Yeah.
And so it can be done.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, if they're doing it, I can do it too, right? Just kind of my philosophy in general. Wing it.
Absolutely. So let's back up. So before you moved to Terrace and got into this adventure lifestyle, tell us about how you got started first into the motorcycle world.
So my very first bike was I think they call it a GL 550. It was a Honda, kind of just like cruiser bike, but it wasn't super tall in hindsight because I ride tall bikes now, but at the time it felt really tall and the seat was really wide and I kept dropping it, which was very discouraging. And I used to think that, motorcycling is super hard until I got a Rebel 250 and I think that's like everybody's gateway bike for people that are new to motorcycling. But yeah, it just made the idea of riding a lot less scary because I could put my feet firmly down and I was flat-footed and it was just a lot easier to move around.
So what inspired you to take up motorcycling in the first place?
I mean, people around me rode and it looked like a lot of fun, and I started out as a passenger and eventually kind of just got sick of waiting for people to take me for rides, so I was like, I gotta have my own, and yeah, I got the Rebel 250, and then my second bike was my BMW. That was my first adventure bike, and then now I'm on a Tenere 700.
How did you overcome the fears that you had about getting off-road and riding such a big bike?
I think it just kind of happens over time. Like with most things, you kind of get desensitized to the fear after a while. But I do remember my first time off-road, I was, white-knuckled and it was nothing gnarly. It was just like a gravel road and it feels like marbles underneath you. So you're caught quite off guard because you think you don't have any traction. And I don't know, I think just doing it over and over again and having people around who can support you learning and helping you out when things go sideways, sometimes literally.
Did you take any classes or anything to get to this point?
I did take some off-road training a couple years ago through Enduro Park Canada, and that was really good. It was a 2-day course. Would definitely recommend. I did that one on a 1250 or 1250 GS, and great bike for learning, actually. Like, people think it's really heavy and big, but when it falls over, it barely falls, so it's very nice.
So any tips for people who are, say, on the shorter side, riding big bikes like you do?
Yeah, it's, people ask me this all the time, and I feel like I just kind of adapt my riding style. Like, I see how other people do things, and while it's great for them that they can do that, I usually can't. So I kind of have to figure out my own way of doing things, like turning the bike around or whatever. A lot of the times I rely on the terrain. Like if I see an uphill, I know that I can do a very comfortable, I can back the bike up very comfortably, going kind of uphill and then using the momentum of the bike. So it's just a lot of just practice, I think, and getting used to the feel of the bike on one leg because I'm never able to put both legs down, so especially off-road. So yeah, it's just a lot of just practicing the balance of the bike and dropping it lots of times.
Yeah, no doubt. That's part of the process. Yeah. I'm sure there are a lot of people who are looking at you and using you as an example as to what can be done.
I hope so. Yeah, that'd be good if people kind of see what I'm doing. They're like, hey, I can do that too. So.
How tall are you?
5'4". I have like a 30-inch inseam, so I feel like it's like a little bit misleading to call me 5'4" because I do have kind of long legs. But yeah, the Tenere's seat height, I think I've got it down to 32 inches now, so
right, okay.
Still a bit bigger than my inseam.
That probably helps give a little bit of confidence.
Yeah, definitely lowering the bike, getting a low seat has been a reality on all of my bikes pretty much, so.
Well, good for you. I know that's a big deterrent for a lot of people to ride bikes like that. So yeah, I think when they see you doing it, I'm sure it inspires them to do the same.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of women lately on T7s, and a lot of them are, I think, about my height. I don't know if you know Odessa Winter. She also rides a T7 now, and yeah, I just think it's really cool to see that these bikes were not necessarily made for people our size, but we're still able to ride them, and yeah, I think it's really cool.
Yeah, you're out there doing it. So you are a brand ambassador for the global brand Revit. What does that entail?
For me, I think the biggest thing is it's kind of helped me connect to bigger motorcycle community than exists in my tiny little community, physical community. And it's also helped me connect with people down here, and yeah, just becoming a part of that, I felt very welcomed into a space that I previously was just kind of riding my bike in, and now it feels like I have a lot of opportunity to meet people that are equally as passionate and just want to see other people get on bikes. I think that's a really big mission for Revit, and I really support that.
That's awesome. Well, I think you're doing that. You certainly inspire me every time I see your pictures out there climbing mountains and doing these things. It's so inspiring for me.
Thank you.
So you've been on so many adventures. Of all the ones you've been on, do any stand out as particularly memorable or perhaps challenging?
Every time I travel solo, it's always an experience, just because you never really know who you're going to meet and what kind of adventures you're going to have. So I remember my very first solo trip on my Rebel 250. I took it up the Sunshine Coast to Powell River, and yeah, I met a lot of different people, and that experience just kind of inspired me to want to keep doing it and pushing further. This past summer I went to Tuktoyaktuk. That was pretty cool. It'd been on my list for a very long time, pretty much since I got an adventure bike and I heard about the road being built. And then last year also going to Tour Tech Rally. That was really cool because I got to meet a bunch of the Revit folks and just more people from the motorcycling community, and camping out in a field with 500 other adventure bikes was pretty cool.
That's a neat experience for sure. Yeah. Tell us about the trip up north you did.
Yeah, so it was originally we'd planned for 2 weeks, did it in 9, and then I believe it was 5,700 kilometers there and back. So actually not terribly far because I was starting out pretty far north already. But I think we got pretty lucky. Weather was on our side. I know the Dempster can get kind of gnarly when it's wet, and that was not our experience. It was very dusty. But we did get rain on one of the days, and it was a lot less fun. So I totally empathize with people who get hit with rain on that road. But otherwise, it was just very cool to see some terrain that I'd never seen before. I'd never been that far north, and the tombstones were just gorgeous. I'd love to go back up there and just spend more time hiking and not even motorcycling.
Same, I would love to too. I was really inspired by your photos. It looked so amazing. So you spend an awful lot of time outdoors and on your motorcycles, but it's actually not your full-time job or anything. So how do you manage your passion for the outdoors and other responsibilities in life, such as work?
Yeah, I think Instagram's kind of funny because I get this question a lot. People just assume I'm always on my motorcycle. But I think it's a little misleading because sometimes I make content and then I don't post it for a while, right? So, but yeah, I basically just spend all of my free time motorcycling. It's weird balance, I guess, but that's kind of how I've justified it. Like I have a desk job and I do some other stuff on the side, so I am pretty busy, but any time off I get, I spend it motorcycling. I do get a little bit more time off in the summer, which works out with the motorcycling season, but yeah, I kind of just literally spend all of my free time biking around.
So just priorities, basically.
Yeah, it's like if you like it, that's what you're gonna do.
And so you've mentioned on your social media that you are really grateful to your parents who brought you to Canada from Iran when you were a child to give you opportunities that you would have here that you wouldn't have had otherwise. How do they feel about your chosen lifestyle?
They definitely weren't super supportive at first when I started getting into riding, but I think after seeing how happy it makes me and kind of the extent that I've taken it to with all my trips and stuff, they definitely understand that it's not just a need for speed or whatever, which is probably what they thought at the beginning on my Freckle 250. But yeah, I think they are just happy that I was able to seize opportunities here that I probably would not have had the chance to do in Iran. Not to say women don't motorcycle in Iran. I think there's actually quite a few motorcyclists in Iran. It's just the barriers to riding in Iran for a woman are very different than they are here. So I do recognize how that has shaped my ability to do this.
So you came when you were quite young, so I assume you've never had a chance to ride motorcycles in Iran.
I have not, but it's definitely on my list. Yeah, one day for sure.
Have you done any travels abroad at all by motorcycle?
Last year I went to Belize. That was my first time riding motorcycles kind of internationally, and that was cool. Definitely think from now on, moving forward, if I travel internationally, I'm going to rent a bike wherever I go, and it's just a way better way to see things.
Do you have grand aspirations to do the kind of cliche adventure thing where, you sell all your possessions and get on the road and just ride? Is that in the cards for you?
I think given my dog and that I'd probably be solo, I'm thinking more van life for me with a dirt bike in the back, because I do like riding off-road, but I don't know if I need to be on a motorcycle full time. But kudos to anyone doing it. I think it's pretty cool.
Where would you want to go?
God, everywhere. Everywhere I haven't been, but I think I'd start with the Americas. Definitely just kind of work my way down. I'm already here, so might as well finish off this continent and then kind of, yeah, I honestly do want to see the entire world, so that would be pretty cool to experience one day, eventually.
I believe in you, Golnoosh. You got this. So you spend quite a bit of time riding solo, and there are a lot of risks doing that. How do you manage the risks of riding solo, especially up in such a remote place like Tenere?
Yeah, I don't think you can ever be too prepared for things that go wrong in the backcountry. So definitely things that I could be doing differently. But I think for me, I have spent quite a bit of time in the backcountry, not just on a motorcycle, but just doing other stuff. And so I'm quite familiar with, wildlife and how those interactions might go. I try and take precautions, carry, my bear spray. I carry an inReach. I think that's probably my biggest thing. If anything goes sideways, I can at least text a friend or call for actual help. Yeah, I have had to use it one time. I couldn't pick the bike up. It kind of landed in a ditch, and I was like, you know what? Instead of waiting for it to get dark and feeling hopeless about myself, I'm just going to call a friend. But yeah, I think just being prepared and knowing what the risks are, and a lot of it is just kind of pushing the fear in your head back and just being like, if I don't go do this, I'm just going to wonder what it would have been like, so I'm just going to do it.
You have mentioned that being a woman in a traditionally male-dominated world, that you've been unfairly targeted. Can you explain more about what that means?
I think a lot of it has come a little bit from social media. I think when you maintain an online presence, you're a bit of a vortex for negativity. But in my general experience, it's been very positive. I do find a lot of support online as well, but you do get occasionally people who, want to pick apart your riding, and the reality is I'm not really there to be a pro, or I'm not there to make anyone else happy other than myself. I just love riding, so I kind of take it with a grain of salt, and what can you do, right? But yeah, I also feel sometimes I am around certain crowds that, want to exclude women in particular, and I just don't really understand why. I can't be seen as just a motorcyclist, so I don't really feel very safe in those environments, and again, very small percentage of the time that's the case, but it does happen occasionally, and I do think it's just unfairly targeting women.
So what advice would you give to women who are interested in getting started in this sport?
Definitely, I can't, take credit for it and say I did it on my own. I got a lot of help from friends and people that were patient teachers. So definitely finding supports, if that means a female riding group in your community. I know there's quite a few of them in Vancouver. The Lita's definitely a great group of gals that really support good things in the riding community for women. There's a few other Facebook groups I'm a part of, and there's definitely communities out there, and it's great to live in a big city like this because you can definitely find your people. So definitely have support, and taking lessons. I didn't take any, but I can see how they would be very helpful. And then just kind of not giving up. Like, don't be afraid to ride at your own pace. If, you know, people want you to go faster or, you know, corner harder or whatever, do whatever feels comfortable for you. Don't try and push yourself out of your comfort zone too far. But you obviously want to go a little bit out of your comfort zone because that's where you learn. So yeah, just kind of being responsible, making good decisions for you and not for other people.
Well, thanks for that. That's some great advice, and I really appreciate you taking the time to share that with me. Is there anything else that you think that you'd want to share with the community?
Yeah, just I don't know. I'm not a pro. I just love riding motorcycles. So if you do follow me online, definitely reach out. I'd love to ride motorcycles with you. And yeah, it's just really nice to be a part of this community. I feel very welcomed and accepted, and that is really cool.
I love that. And I appreciate all that you've done for the motorcycle community and for the barriers that you're breaking down, for just the great example that you are. And as I've said so many times, you've really inspired me. Where you live and what you do is just, it's really incredible. And I hope to ride up north with you soon.
100%. We'll make it happen for sure.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being on the show today, Golnoosh. It was great chatting with you.
Thank you so much.